Now, if you live in Florida, you might have heard the story about John Sunday Jr. He was a millionaire and he basically built up the city of Pensacola. If you haven't, don't worry. I did some digging. Let's get into it. Now, before I get going with this story, I gotta say that there's not a lot of pictures of Mr. Sunday, but in 1838, he was born in Pensacola, Florida. Now, the thing about John Sunday's birth is his father was actually his slave master. And the thing about it is his mother was actually a slave that his father started messing with when his father's first wife passed away, giving birth to their other son. Yeah, but then there's more, because look, his father, John Sr., was murdered a few weeks after John Jr. was born, but he was murdered by another slave that his father owned. They got into a little scuffle and he was murdered. Now, dealing with the circumstances, okay, seeing that his father was just murdered, him and his mother are now free. They're no longer slaves. But when he gets older, he ends up working as an apprentice with his godfather, who taught him how to do carpentry. Now, when John was done doing the carpentry thing, he ended up getting a job at a Navy shipyard, okay? But it's about 1863, and he enlists with the Union, and he ends up fighting in the Civil War. Now, he served for a very long time in the Union, all right? But when he was in Louisiana on tour, he ended up meeting his wife, all right? And then moving back to Florida to be actually in politics. Now, in 1873, when he got back to Florida, he ended up being the state's second black legislator. And the thing about it is he gets kicked out of his spot, okay? Because at the time, something was going on in the whole party. And they removed everybody from the party and they handpicked brand new members of the party. Now, if we fast forward a little bit to the Reconstruction era of America, John realized something. He says, look, we're all freed men now, and we all have skill. And a lot of them had skill in carpentry and laying bricks and things like that. So how he built his wealth was basically just building up the city of Pensacola. Now, he didn't just become a developer, okay? He bought a lot of land, all right? And the land that he was buying was very important pieces of property in the Pensacola area. And to be real with you, he had so much land, he could donate some away. He actually donated some to his sister so she could start the St. Joseph Church, which was an all-black church that's still around today. Now, for the next 15, 20 years, John is very active in the Pensacola area. But at the turn of the century, right, around 1905, at this time, he's known as the richest black person in Florida, but he was also considered to be the richest black person in America. But on top of that, he was also considered to be just one of the richest people in America at this time. Now, for everybody that's gonna be like, how much money did he have? So around 1905, it was said that he had wealth about $3 to $5 million. I'm gonna be real with you, that's a lot of money now. And for you to have that much money in 1905 is a lot of money. But for you to be black in 1905 to have that kind of money, that's very impressive. Now, John spent majority of his life, building and owning grocery stores and owning real estate, owning land. He did all this stuff. But at the turn of the century, when he was a lot older, all right, he was in his 60s, he ended up building his own house in Pensacola, Florida, which this house was actually a historic area for a very, very long time. But I read somewhere in an article, and y'all gonna help me out in the comments if you're from Pensacola, that they're planning to tear this down or they already tore it down. And I don't know why, but if you're from Pensacola, please hit the comments. Now, things are rolling smooth for Mr. John Sunday here, but Jim Crow era hits, okay? And it basically forces Mr. Sunday to take all of his businesses, all of his real estate, a lot of his land, and they either took it from him, made him sell it, and they made him move all of his businesses to a different area of Pensacola, which that area was the Belmont area. Now, even though they forced him out, all right, a lot of the buildings that his businesses were in, like the grocery stores, a lot of the houses that he was renting out to people, a lot of the businesses in those parcels that those businesses were in, he built those. So even though they forced him out, he still owned those buildings, and those buildings are still up today. Now, in 2016, all right, the city of Pensacola finally realized, like, hey, look, we need to recognize Mr. Sunday for all his achievements, okay? And they did that. So on March 20th, every year is John Sunday Day. So if you are in the Pensacola area and you are by the city hall, there is a plaque there just explaining all his accomplishments and everything that he's done, and just really showing a lot of homage to Mr. John Sunday. But the thing about it is, this is what gets me about this whole thing. There's no church, there's no schools, there's no roads, there's no nothing named after John Sunday Jr. The more you know. Peace.